Welcome to our YouTube channel. We are so glad that you found us. Please enjoy this inspiring interview with Manuela Giaroli. She was interviewed by Rhoda Macklin and Anne Blanchard. For more information about our non-dual community or to join us live, visit our website, awakening-together.org. Please remember to subscribe and click that bell for more notifications. Thank you for watching.
Okay, so I want to say good morning to everyone, and thank you for being with us. Super, I'm going to jump out of my skin is what I'm going to do. I'm super excited for us to all be here with my friend, which is our friend, Manuela, who is here for the Satsang interview this month. And I am just really, first of all, it's just fabulous to see you. And second, you know, the reason we do these satsang interviews is because, you know, we have a set of teachings and we find ourselves gravitating to different teachings and whatever's lighting us up. And then it's just, we have found really, really useful to expose people to different people that have different ways of expressing and different little words and different ways that they would articulate the unarticulatable. Right. And yet we still are going to grasp for the words and they're not going to be perfect, but there's something about it. And you never know that little phrase or the pointing that comes from someone, you know, seemingly someone else that has the inside of us go, oh my God, wait a minute. I know that. I was waiting for something else, you know, and I felt that many times, even just listening to your very brief, we have a couple of very brief teachings on Awakening Together website. And they are just so direct. They're so direct in the pointing. And if you know, those with ears for those type of pointings, let them hear. And that's what I felt like I just did these last couple of days. So first of all, thank you for doing those teachings. So Rhoda and I are both going to be doing this interview, but we have several of our mighty companions here. And we just welcome anyone that has a question and you know, and feels the prompt that something wants to be brought forth during this 90 minutes. I mean, we totally trust that. So, but in the meantime, Rhoda and I will get this started. So Manuela, first, let me say to you, good morning and give you a chance to speak.
Hi. I don't know what to say.
Well, I could ask you a question.
Yes.
Okay. When did you begin with Awakening Together?
Would have been around 2014.
Okay.
2014.
2014.
I had, it's really funny thinking about it. So I was really fed up being depressed in my life, you know, really down. And I came across, you know, the big circle of things. I'd read Gary Renard and had did the Course in Miracles. And there was Jennifer Hadley came up and she was this really lovely lady, and she was like a big sister who held out her hand and said, come, you know, I can help you. And I think I spent like a month tortured over whether I should spend the $350 to join her group. And it was like tortured, thinking, oh, can I afford it? You know, because my life is, I'm an artist by, you know, trade. And so there's not much money here. And anyway, something happened and I accepted. I paid the money and it was great for about 2 months. And then she interviewed Regina. And I just went, oh my God, this is why I joined her to meet Regina. And Regina was talking about the loop of thinking, the thinking loop. I think therefore I experienced, I can never remember it. I've always got to look it up. And that's when then I just dropped being with Jennifer and I just came to Awakening Together and have been here since. It's just resonates and it's just what I loved about Regina was she was just a normal person doing her own, living her own life and looking inwards. And she showed me how to look inwards. And that changed everything. Yeah. I think I spent a year, and then the MPP course came up to do, and again tortured whether I should do that or not, because I didn't really know about what. Let's say I had a real beef with inner intuition back then, because my whole life, um, everyone kept saying to me, school counselors, friends, older people, were saying, follow your dreams, follow your heart, always make decisions. So I did, and I became an artist. And I thought, damn it, why would God make me become an artist why? Just to punish me? Just so I didn't, because as a child, you think, oh yeah, I'm going to be an artist. I'll earn. You don't think, oh yeah, artists don't get paid much. There's nowhere to apply for a job. You've got to make your own job. So, and I kept reading that, like life was punishing me. So I sort of hated inner intuition, because my life always sort of went down a road, started to look like it would be successful, and then a stop. And it was, looking back later, I just thought, oh God, that was actually a blessing. It was like when I would go off to detour, it would stop and pull me back onto track, and then I'd go off. Because if I had been a successful artist with heaps of money, I wouldn't be here today. I'd be living this massive ego life, probably still really, really depressed. So I'm really grateful for all these stops, and it sort of kept me back on the road, back on the straight and narrow. And so I did the MPP classes, and that just changed my life. The 2 years of that, I think that's why I accepted. I had this conversation with Rhoda at the beginning of the year, and I really feel like I'm just the most boringest Satsang guest ever. But I thought, I can talk about MPP because it's something about doing MPP, and we did it on Pal Talk back then, and being with a group of people, but consistently for 2 years, going through being completely intimate with these people, who I would call friends, even though I've never had dinner with them. I haven't touched half of them. And I used it as purifying. And so difference between Manuela, who started MPP, to Manuela, who finished MPP, was massive, massive. And my answers were pages and pages long for each question, because there was so much life. I was only working my job 1 day a week. So I had lots of time I devoted it like a full-time job. So I was really getting into it. If there were, like when I did NTI, I sort of didn't get it. So I listened to all the audios that were on the website of Regina talking, and I transcribed most of them, and I'm a very slow typer. So, but I find when I transcribe things, it calms the mind. It's quiet, it's focused, and it really, there's something about it going through the head and into the hand that it just, you understand it more. You're like being with it and contemplating it more than if you listen, people talk fast and you miss half the stuff. So, I did that, and then my job increased to full time. And of course I thought, well, I can't do this. I can't do it anymore. And then this voice came in, and it said, well, if I'm meant to do this, there'll be a way that I can still do this. And it worked out. It was amazing for 2 years. So each class, because I'm in Australia, was from midnight to 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. And then you're just on such a high because you spend 2 hours with inner guidance, always dropping from the head to the heart. So after that, you're on like a buzz, so you can't go to sleep. So I think I would get like broken 10 minutes here and there sleep and then get up and go to work all day. But I managed. It was fine. It was a great lesson, and it was so good that I was in Australia thinking, well, I had these two thoughts. It's not fair because I've got to get up at midnight to do this. And the other one is, with the exchange rate, I'm paying double what, and because two Australian dollars equals $1 American. So I think, oh, why have I got it bad? So it's, all this victim. And so by having it set up like this, it was perfect. It was perfect because it was to be up at night when it's all quiet. No one's bugging me. My husband's asleep. The kids were asleep. So I had it was a great chunk. It was something about the peace and quiet at night just brings you closer, like takes you out of your head more and into your heart. And then being with these wonderful people, talking about the incredible teachings. It was just so good. And everything I was learning, I could practice. So my husband is a very, like, this is all story that I'm saying. It's really funny, but so he's a projector. If something happens to him, it's my fault. It doesn't matter. He doesn't know how to use his phone. He projects out onto me, and I'm a sensitive type, so I would take in everything. Everything's my fault. So it was a great fit. So I was able to always practice. Like I couldn't remember all this stuff. Like I remember reading Gary's book, and forgiveness was like a paragraph long. And I thought, how am I going to remember a whole paragraph when I have to forgive someone? Because I really didn't understand what forgiveness was. I just read it, couldn't get it. And then I came across RAT, and I thought, oh, RAT, rest, accept, and trust. That is forgiveness. That is how I can do it. So my husband would come, 10 centimeters from my face and to get mad at me because I went and bought 2 extra cans of chickpeas, and there are 4 cans of chickpeas in the cupboard, and, why don't I pay attention? Oh, whatever. And I just would hear rat, rat, rat. So I was shaking inside because someone's screaming at you. Back then it was, and I was taking it all in like, oh, I bought 2 cans of chickpeas. And, but it was so good. I could remember rat, and then I would do it. And then I would write about it, and I would laugh because I think the question that I didn't know how to answer in MPP, that situation came to me, and now I know how to answer it because I just lived it. Everything became direct experience. So I would write through direct experience. And so it was like everything then was set up, even though I didn't like it, but to get me to understand my blockages, my constrictions. So it was great. MPP was great, and I really recommend it. I recommend it, and I didn't do it to be a reverend. I thought it was really wonderful. The first teacher I had was David Hemphill, and he was so good with me. He's sort of saying, just start. You can drop out whenever you want. You can get right to the end and not do the last course and be a minister. You can just decide then. And it took away the sort of fears. So I did it, and I thank him because it was great. It changed everything. And then at the end, I went to India, and I met the lovely Kate and the lovely Anne, and I had a great time with them. And then India sort of changed me too. And when I say change, it's dropping. More stuff dropped away. And then, it was great because that's when Regina started the gentle healing. Because after MPP, I went, oh, this is not enough. I need more. I need to be guided more. And so she started the gentle healing. So so another point I would like to bring up would be, the Star Wars movies. You can watch it in the way that it came out, or you can just watch it in the order that of chronological.
Mhm.
Well, I did MPP. I did all Regina's teachings the way it came out. And there was something really great about that, because after MPP, it was great to then do gentle healing, because I felt so. For me, MPP was like the great purifier. It helped me understand concepts. It gave me tools. It introduced me to how they're fitting through the great masters. I saw that, I was Catholic by upbringing, but I saw how all religions connected, and how discernment was great. So you could hear anything and you can discern. Then gentle healing was the great dissolver. It just was wiping more and more of ego away, especially like the last year, so Regina takes you through slowly. And the last year, it's you. You've got to rely on your own inner wisdom, your own contemplation. And so you're decreasing, and your heart connection and your inner guidance is speaking more than your head. So that was it was great to do one after the other. But I found if you go really deeply, but like to do two at the same time would be very hard, because you got to go really deep. And I found also that when you were doing a teaching or a week's lesson, audios would show up that just fitted exactly with what you're doing. So I would go deeper and listen to them, and it was wonderful. So I highly recommend MPP and gentle healing.
And gentle. Well, let me jump in for a second and say, when we say MPP, what we're talking about is the Minister Preparation Program, which is a over 2-year program that Regina put together. And there's different, like you can say modules, but they're different classes. And as Manuela said, you go through all the masters. Buddhism and Jesus of the New Testament, right? And Sufism and Kabbalah, and I'm going to, the Tao, right? I mean, and then you like, what is the same? And what I hear you saying is you could just keep following that strand, but not for the sake of intellectually being able to debate or know these terms. It was for the purpose of purifying. It was using the tools. So it was, how actionable is this each time? That's what I hear you reflecting.
Yeah, definitely. It was about, I need to change. I'm sick of being depressed. It's not working. Mm-hmm. This was an alternative.
That was your Helen Schuckman moment, right? I think said something like, "There's got to be a better way. This cannot be it.
Yeah.
This cannot be all that there is." Yeah. Oh, that's just beautiful. What I also hear you saying, though, is that, and it's such a beautiful point you make. Regina showed me how to look inside, and that changed everything. I remember reading some quote, Einstein quote, that said something like, the vastness of what lies outside is nothing compared to the eternity on the inside. I remember thinking, what is he talking? What is he talking about? Right. And that's what you're pointing to, is being pointed to discovering your own internal vastness, your internal infinity. So I wonder if you could just say a little bit about that, if that feels alive for you.
Well, it's like you're walking around and you're holding a torch and you're looking outwards, and then you realize, the torch is coming from in you. So the light, Michael Langford said, follow the light beam. And where does the light beam start? That's how I thought back then. Like now, I can't say that, but you turn in and you see that the light beam starts within, in your heart, not your head. So the head Well, like I said, like from being a child, I always knew about intuition, because being an artist, you're not really coming from your head too much. I'm a very feely person. So I find, on the whole, I find being quiet more than talking, because I'm not very, um, I'm not a language-based person. I'm a very feeling-based person. Which is why I discovered why I chose art in the first place, because when I was doing art, there was the flow. Mm-hmm. So I didn't realize, but I realize now that it was you're out of your head and you're in your heart. Mm-hmm. And so as a child, I knew that felt good, but I didn't know it. So it was subconscious. It was just a gravitation towards that.
Yeah, it was your natural guiding force, right?
Yeah. Which is really what is, like the unfolding of life. You think you're doing things for a certain reason. That's what your head's telling you. But really, your life is pulling you and the mind is claiming it. This is like I read, I've had quite a few shifts this year. This year's been really amazing. Like really stopping my mind a lot, like walking around. The whole of September, I'm just walking around in big mouth drops. Like I can't talk because of the realizations is wiping all the places where I was still clinging onto. And can't remember what I was talking about.
I could bring you back. You were talking about how when you're walking around with the torch, right, with the flashlight, you're looking out. You start to look in, and then there's the heart.
Yeah. Yes, and so you follow the light beam, and the more you get, the bigger it is, and the more confidence. So the more willingness you give, and the more trust you get to do more. So it grows. So willingness grows and trust grows. Well then like this year, and it would have been around June, I realized that there is no inside and outside. So we talk about inner, turn in, and the outer world. Well, that disappeared, that whole. Because I used to, it's like you get to the highest point of something and you think, yeah, I've got this clarity. And then something comes along and wipes that. And it's like you're given the tools to use until the tools are no longer useful. And so life then just took away the tool because it wasn't useful anymore and it showed me more. So I used to, I realized I used to go to meditation a lot because I love meditation. But after 2017, meditation changed and meditation became sitting in silence, just sitting in the gorgeous silence deeply, letting the thoughts come if they come. And some thoughts I still had to rat. So it was still just feeling, letting it come, and then just sitting again in silence. So I could do 8 hours of that. I just love sitting in it. And so then I would stop, and there would be a difference with then going out into the world. And going out into the world was more painful because that's how I experienced it then. So I'd keep coming back into inner. And then this realization happened, but it just dissolved that. And so it's got to, like, there's a whole lot of things but anyway, just get to the point. Inner and outer don't exist. That doesn't exist. It's all one. And so then that really changed a lot, and you can just sit and that's where I started to see this inner stillness is everywhere. You could see it everywhere. It was just clinging to thoughts that stopped it. So that clinging to the thought of an inner life and an outer life, they're still thoughts. So that changed a lot. And so meditation for me is not someone trying to stop thoughts. It's not, it's more living with what's coming up. So you're really just the flow. If guilt comes up, you just feel it, feel it, feel it, feel it, feel it, feel it, and let it go. But back then so it's all about dissolving. So this whole path is about taking away, not gaining knowledge, not gaining, but it's about taking away. And so you've got to look at everything that you're holding on to, and life will show you that. So you don't have to work anything out. You just live life. It'll bring it to you and inquire. So my biggest tool was investigating everything with curiosity. And when I facilitated NTI, I read the sentence, it was curiosity that asked the question, what would life be like if it was different? And I thought, okay, curiosity was outside of the mind. It's not of the mind. And it's that curiosity which helped, by looking, take things away. And so now I know, I saw directly, it was a direct experience, that there is no self. So I got to the point of awareness. So we did awareness, watching awareness.
Mm-hmm.
But that's still duality, because there's someone who's aware, being aware of awareness. So I kept looking into that, inquiring, and it was Angelo's teaching about the seeing being seen, which then, because it gets more and more subtle, but the more you take away, the more you can see where you're still clinging. And awareness is still a clinging. It's still a thought. And this is how I describe it. So you got an illusion like this, and normal vision is you look at it, and one whole, perspective is you can see it as a rabbit, or if you look this way, you can see it as a duck. And so, you can divide that up and you can fight over that and have different perspectives and over that. But then there's another one, which is what's looking at it. We think there's a me that lives inside the head, behind the eyes, looking out. And so that's like it came right down to that I was a self-reference point. And even if it's a tiny dot, you take away everything and it's a microscopic dot, it's still a point. And it's still a reference point, and you're still point A looking at point B. So it's still subject and object. Even though you're not a body, you're not your mind, you're always following into, you're completely surrendered, you're living a life totally surrendered to inner guidance. But that's still a dot of a self. And then that went. And then that changed everything. That was like, wow. And the mind would thoughts would come, but what if, and then, wow, gone. And there's this funny interview, well, I think it's funny because I couldn't talk, of chatting with Emerson, who is I found through Tony Parsons. And and he's saying stuff, and I'm going, but what? And then it's just all white, like it just can't, because questions don't drop anymore. So when there's no self, there's no story. So things happen, like you can walk and stub your toe on the table chair, and you feel the sensation, and you go, oh shit, that hurts. But then it doesn't, there's no story attached to it. So then you don't say, why did you leave the chair there? Or that stupid chair, I hate this chair. That disappears. Because they're all thoughts. So the whole idea of self, or what we think we are, is only an idea. Which is, wow, because boy, it didn't feel like an idea before. And that person who was crying and crying whether to join, a group of people and pay $300, that didn't feel like a thought. But you get to the point where that is the main clinging point of constriction. So that sort of wiped everything. It wiped the teachings. It wiped the teachers. It wiped my story, which So it wiped talking. It wiped. It wiped everything. It wiped liberation. Like that's just a thought. It it's really funny because what's left is it's what you've already known. But you're not there. Like you never were there. It's what's here when there's no thoughts. You've known it all your life. It's so obvious. In the Tao, when Regina was talking, she read someone's translation. It was the hidden in the hidden. Well, the sense of who you think you are is a thought hidden within thoughts. But in reality, it's the obvious in everything. It's like when I first with MPP, Regina was my main teacher for the second year, and so when I first went into awareness, watching awareness, and I sat in the silence, I remember saying to her, "But it's boring. You're just sitting here. It's just nothing." And she laughed and said, "It's nothing that's created it's created all this." So then I thought, okay, that there's something there. That's just a thought then that see how thoughts block. Thoughts they block everything. And then, sitting, it's amazing. It's illuminous. I call it aliveness, because words, I don't like to use the word ego because it means so many things to different people. Isness is the same, and isness sounds a bit like you're still there. So it's aliveness. It's aliveness in everything. It's aliveness in the pen. You see it. It's everything. It's gorgeous. And aliveness, death is part of aliveness but nothing dies. Death doesn't die. So it came up in facilitating the classes that I rarely sit in the lounge. That's my husband's sort of room. He likes the TV. And I've got this vase from Mother's Day, a vase of flowers. And I sat there one day and I looked up and I just saw, they're 3 months. They should have been dumped 3 months ago. But I just see aliveness. It's just beautiful. It's just alive. That's all there is aliveness. Everything's aliveness. And it's true, like that was a very key. Angelo's teaching about dropping the concepts, that was amazing. That was amazing. I would lie in bed, and this was so, I sort of was reading Angelo from about June on, maybe so. And I would do this because I found in my life, this is why I can't still really talk, is things would happen, shifts would happen, and then I didn't understand what's happened, something's gone, something's still here. That's all I could say. I don't have the words to explain. And then it's when I hear a teaching or read it in a book, I recognize and go, that's it. So it's always, you don't know. Like this spiritual path is a very solitary journey, really, because it's between you and what you are feeling. And then if you look at it, you think, okay, I'm feeling this sensation. I'm calling it anger. But how do I know that that's what you're feeling and you're calling anger? Because no one's actually said, oh, yeah, see this thing that you're feeling? I know that it's anger. Like, it's just something that you just assume, don't you? Like, I just assume. Then you look into it, which I had already done driving to work when I was, the preschool teacher, the kindergarten teacher, which is a funny story. I'm going to go all over the place. You can rein me in. But so with COVID, I was working as an artist for a TV station, specializing in children's TV. And with the TV stations here, it's law that if they want their broadcast license, they have to do half an hour of preschool TV. But in that half an hour, they're not allowed to advertise. So they didn't want to do this because it was just a waste of money and they weren't getting money. So when COVID came, all the TV stations came together and lobbied the government to get rid of this law so they wouldn't have to pay for all this money. Anyway, it went through. So overnight, my whole career just disappeared. So it wasn't like I could go find another job. I mean, the whole industry disappeared. So that's when I totally surrendered. Totally surrendered. Just like how David was talking about. I just didn't move until the body moved. And I was going to do whatever. So I was guided. I just got up, came on my phone. Like if you're enrolled in Seek and it just gives you a LinkedIn, they just send you all these emails. This job came up and I just went and put a resume in overnight. Like it was about 10 o'clock at night and just sent it off. And then I got the job and it was what I had classified the worst job in the world because of all my teaching. I'm an early childhood teacher as well as an art teacher. And the age group when I did my pracs was 3-year-olds. I don't want to be with 3-year-olds. That's just so hard. And you're one person with 11 3-year-olds. Like it's just a lot of work. And that was the class that they gave me. And I was the second teacher of the 3-year-old group. And I was in the funny shaped room with corners so kids could hide in. We had less resources because the others got the government subsidy and my class didn't because they all went to C&Ks. It was like a paid. And so we were basically babysitting. So it was the worst of the worst. But I thought, so it's funny how inner guidance does not, this is another thing that broke, that I thought if you followed your inner guidance, it would lead me to being a successful artist. I thought, okay, God knows now what I want. God's saying to me, be an artist. Follow what I have to do, follow all the prompts, and you're going to be a great artist. You're going to change the world. You're going to be the new Picasso. And that's not what inner guidance is there for. Inner guidance knows beyond your thinking. It knows your true calling. It knows it wants the peace and the radiance and of who you are, but really are, without a who and a one. So I did that, and that ended up being a great job. It ended up being a great job. Those 3-year-olds taught me amazing. It, it, they don't have stories. They just play. And especially you give a 3-year-old a piece of paper and say, "Oh, could you draw a portrait of your family?" And there's no, they get it. They do their scribbles. There's mum and dad, me, the dog, the cat, grandma, grandpa. There's no story. They can just do it. And then if you ask a grade 2, oh, no, even grade 3, grade 4 child, 10-year-old child, there's oh, no, I can't draw. I don't know how to draw. No, this is awful. They rip up their picture. Like already stories have come in. So those 3-year-olds were just fantastic. And then I would often look up, because even though it's supposed to be 1 to 11, your partner teacher is off doing cleaning and other stuff. So it's really 1 to 24. And I would look up and I would just see, so other teachers would call it chaos and noise, but I would just see this flow of love. They're just being, they're just playing. They're just, they're with life. They're feeling what they're feeling. And there's no story at that age. It's the parent who'll come up, "Oh, did you fall over?" "Yes." "Did, Jimmy hit me or something?" But before that, there's nothing. It's just, "Oh, I fell. Look at my knee," sensation. And then you put a bit of water on it and they're fine. There's no, or they want a Band-Aid because they think this Band-Aid is this amazing thing to get. And it solves it because you put a Band-Aid on, they stop crying. It's amazing. They're just so innocent and beautiful and no stories. And then you watch, because it's 3 years old, you watch the stories coming in. You watch how we do it. So I was learning about how I was constricting myself from when I was a child and how looking outward teaches you this. And you're taught more to look outwards because, the rules that I had to install was, okay, everyone has to sit on the mat. You have to sit still. We're not starting until everyone's still, all these rules that go against what a 3-year-old really wants to do. And that's when behaviour problems came in, when I had to make 25 children go to sleep for a 1-hour nap. I mean, how do you get them to just go to sleep and then wake up at 2 o'clock? Yeah, it just doesn't work. Anyway, I've gone all over the place, so I'm very sorry. But it's just like, so talking's just happening to me because I thought, oh, what am I going to talk about? Nothing to talk about.
Absolutely. Perfect. It comes in for me to talk, to just try as I may to understand and follow the thread here. There is real clarity that where I am may be where you were, let's say in 2017, based on your timeline. So when I hear you speaking, I keep feeling this, there's definitely still a sense of a self here. And so as I hear you talking about no inside, no outside, without any desire to try to get there, because that's just not where it is right now, but just to understand how the dissolving, like, it's not really, what I hear you saying is it's not something I'm doing. Dissolving is happening, like life brings it to me, and then dissolving is happening.
Yes, and I think so the more time for me, everybody's life is different and life will bring it to you. But sitting in that silence, just clarity was coming. You open yourself to it, and it's showing me in the silence, you could see how the mind works. So what happens is, and so you are a thought, you know, what you think you are is just a thought, and you use thoughts to keep that thought in place. Mm-hmm. And then you build a story. So all these thoughts now are a story, and you're believing it. So it's very simple. It's like the 3-year-old. Something happens in life, you know, you could be very happy. You're in your quiet meditation sitting. Someone knocks on the door. It's your neighbour, and they're pissed off because you put your bin across the road because you've missed the bin on your side. You've put it on his footpath, and he doesn't like the bin on his footpath. Why is my bin over there? Because it looks awful, you know, whatever. So in a second, your life changes. So you're happy for 1 minute, then the doorbell rings, and now you're thinking, what the And so what's happened really is drop the story. It's like a real root cause inquiry. Root cause inquiry, you've got the story, and you go and you're going deeper and deeper, and really you're dropping from the head to the heart, and you're getting to clarity, and you're getting that from inner guidance, and then you're sitting in it. So a lot of people get the guidance and then walk away. But it's sit in it, stay in it, let it marinate, and it gets deeper. So you see that mind, so you're getting a sensation in your body. Usually, if you still think you're a person, you go to the head to find out why. You know, like a sensation happens, and what I would find is there's a moment of confusion. And confusion was a massive hidden trigger for me to go to the head to understand why, and to ask the head why. And I had to really break that to go to guidance instead. So I'd go to the head, and the head would use what the story to attach to create a story. And saying, oh, you're angry because your neighbour has come over and yelled at you because your bin is across the road. So now you're believing that this is anger. You've labelled it, mental concept. You've attached it to a story, a whole heap of mental concepts, and now you're a person. You're constricted. You're not seeing anything for what it is. You're not seeing the aliveness in anything because you've just constricted it all. So any sort of mental concept, you're constricting. So if you see a cup and you say a cup, right? That's a mental concept. So in that moment, it's like you can switch off aliveness, and you say it's a cup, and you don't have to think about it anymore because it's a cup. And you have a whole history story of what a cup is. So, you know, a cup should be in the kitchen and shouldn't be on the floor. So if you're walking by and you see a cup on the floor, you go, I left the cup on the floor. I could have, you know, broken it. Cups don't go there. So see all the stories that are coming? See, and it's just a sensation, but you're attaching anger to it. And you're attaching that then to a story. And you get lost. And now you're stuck in your head. Whereas when you're taken away, like Angela was saying, take away mental concepts, take away, you're left with sensation. And really this life here of this apparent world, reality is a sensing. It's experiencing, you know. So, but we don't want to experience it. We want to experience the good. We don't want to experience the anger. So, yeah, when you've got a story and a person that you're clinging on to, you can hide. You can hide. You can repress stories. You can repress feelings more. When there's no self, you can't. There's nothing there to stop this. So you feel everything, but it doesn't stick. It only sticks if there is a story. The story only exists if there's a self. So it's pure feeling for feeling, and then it goes. It's just like the wind comes through and it goes. Mm. So you can feel everything, and it's great. It's wonderful. And again, it's mental concept saying that this is anger. If you look into it, which is the great thing that Angelo's teaching about dropping the concepts, which he talked about in his Satsang, and he took us through it. So if you look at that and you go, okay, anger, that's a mental concept, drop it. What is it? It's just sensation. It's just sensation. And then I played this, that's where I was going. I was driving to work and I got sort of anxious. I was thinking, oh, I'm in a class again with all these kids. And, so the sensation was there, and I had put the sensation, I labelled it as anxiety. I don't really want to do this. I wish I could quit my job. Right, but that's all the thoughts attaching to it, all these mental concepts. So I was driving along and I went, okay, feel it, feel it, feel it, feel it. And then it's just inner guidance just does this, you're not doing any of it. It just happens. Then it would say, I'm excited. It was the same feeling of putting a different label on it, made me feel happy. Like, it's amazing. It's just sensation. That's the power of what concepts are. So it was just one sensation, and you can turn it from anger and you could turn it to happiness, because it's just beliefs. You're believing it. You're constricting it. So I went, that's amazing. How can... But don't take my word for it. When you feel something, drop the label of it and go in, and it's just sensations. And then the more you drop it, you're not clinging onto it, you're not repressing it, so it just flows through. So so now feeling everything is wow. And you're living more, although there's no you living. It's just everything's aliveness. Everything's aliveness.
Thank you.
So I hear two main points from that, just to reflect this back to you. The first is, or I guess there's three. Okay. The mechanism of this delusional self-concept, this self-concept that is not true and yet continually gets believed. The mechanism that actually constructs that is when you don't realize that what you think you are is just a thought. Until you accept that what you are is just a thought, you can't see step two, which is then you, not other people, not the world, you use thought to keep that in place and reinforce it and build it and keep that in place. And I'm the one who thinks the cup shouldn't be on the floor. I'm the one that knows where cup should be. Matter of fact, that's my cup. Or it's not my cup, so I'm not as concerned about that cup getting broken. But we go back. So that's when I use concepts to reinforce the thought. But the first is what you think you are is just a thought. So there's two more points I want to make to reflect back, but let's just stop on that one for a second, if it's okay. What you think?
That's a good one.
Yeah. What you think you are is just a thought. Did 2017 Manuela know that what she was just a thought?
No, not like now. No, because I was still watching awareness.
Okay.
But the thing is, there is no you that realizes your thought. Its recognition happens. There's nothing the person. Yeah. So what happens is, I can't explain how or what. So I just finished facilitating NTI, and it's wonderful, especially reading it from a lot of no self. It's so clear. And I thought, I've read this so many times. It's just so clear. So simple. So it's basically saying, this is how the mind works. It's saying everything I'm saying. Everything, this is how the mind works. This is how you got to where you got to. There's an alternative. It's called inner guidance. Follow inner guidance. But it can't say anything else. You still think you're a seeker. So it's got to use this, it's got to talk to a seeker. So follow inner guidance, and then you get to Revelations, which is incredible, which I thought, how did I never understand that? Because it's actually proving it to you. It's saying, NTI is incredible. It says, read this, what does it mean? and you realize that your mind's come up with all this story, or I don't know what it means. Weird. And then you read it and it goes, yeah, there was no meaning. Can you see what your mind has done to this little paragraph of words? And so it's proving it to you. It's proving the whole book to you in Revelations. And then it's saying, okay, now just drop. You don't need the mind at all. Drop it. You can live totally from inner intuition, and let inner intuition translate everything for you. Everything. Don't leave a single thing behind. Give it all to it. You just seen, we've just shown you through the whole book that the mind doesn't know. The mind is limited. It's how can a thought that creates thoughts go beyond thoughts? It's a thought loop thing. It can't. It doesn't even know about intuition. You've got to put the attention down there. And then it's. So I'd done that, and I just went. Oh, there's so much clarity that was happening in these last few months. It was just all clicking with direct experience, and so I found myself. So I was lying down, and I thought, I'm curious about inner intuition, because the first principle of God, if it's always here and it's never changed, it means it's here and right now. It's right now. How can it not be here? It's never changed. I've always had that from when Regina first brought in that teaching. I thought, oh, well, it's got to be here now. Like, it's never changed. So I thought, well, does inner intuition come from there? Like, is that part of it? So I was just curious, and I was doing that. And I just asked, talk to me about inner intuition. What is it? And you just sit in silence. And what happened was there was like a turning, but nothing turned. And the answer was, it's the what is and not. And it was in the not that it turned in on itself. And it just dropped, like it was just, oh my God. Oh my God. The person's never, ever made a decision in their life, has never done anything. It's completely made up. You think that it's me now drinking. But drinking is happening. You think, so the mind claims it. It'll say, oh, I just drank. But it's not, it's like a 6 second, it's like a sixth of a second delay, and the mind's claimed it. And Tony Parsons talks about that being the rich man. It's harder for a rich man to get into heaven because the rich man claims everything. The rich man is the mind, who thinks it's a person who's claiming. And it claims everything. It's my pen. That was my action. I just picked up a pen. I just dropped it. That's my anger that I'm feeling. Like it's claiming. And it's not actually what's really happening. That's what I saw in the moment. And in that moment, the self just disappeared. And then in the self, in Manuela not ever existing, that means you don't exist either. And that's why the only person who could help me was Tony Parsons, because who frustrated me years ago, and I just never went back to him because I didn't know what he was talking about. But he's actually talking the pure truth, even though truth is a concept. It's all a concept.
But he's pointing consistently to, perhaps with concepts, but he's pointing to it.
He's pointing to the fact that you don't exist. And that's very hard for a seeker to want. A seeker doesn't want to know this. A seeker does not want to know. So what happened was an accident, right? Nothing I did made this happen. I've done this 1,000 times of sitting in and asking inner intuition. Not 1,000, billion times. Okay, but trillion times.
May I jump in?
Yeah.
You sat there a billion times.
Sorry?
You brought yourself into the sitting, to the silence, to the not knowing, to the curiosity, to the this is boring. There's nothing here for me. Why am I doing this? I can't do this. I can't. Why would I ever sit here? I can't believe I put 20 minutes on my timer. I can't do this for 20 seconds. Why would I ever do this for 20 minutes? I can't do this for an hour. Why? You sat in the face of mind perpetually telling you, did you not? That it was boring, that it was useless, that there was nothing here, that you're totally wasting your time. I remember you telling a story about India.
Oh,
Mind was saying,
yeah.
everyone else has these grand adventures in India. All I did is sit in the hall and mind was like, you don't even have a bunch of really, really cool, so that's what you did. What you did is have the trust to do nothing in the face of being told that this is nothing.
This is true. And I would, because meditating for 4 hours, like whenever I had a spare 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour, I would meditate, but just use the time. And I would be filled up in a fetal position.
For how many years?
Since I was doing MPP. So I really, at the end of MPP, so 2016, because that's when we
17,
really got into
18,
awareness,
19,
watching awareness.
20, 21, 22, 23. But ever so generally, but we're going to put some numbers on this. We're going to say every time you had some spare time, the call to be free or to be curious or to know what must be here called you in to look at what you didn't know and you weren't sure about and didn't get a big kick and payoff from. And you followed that call and stayed in all the time you had free, which sometimes was a lot of time, sometimes less, but it was daily. We're going to go with daily, right?
Oh, daily, because I worked out there's 24 hours in a day. 8 of them I have to work. 8 I'm going to sleep. I love sleeping. And also if I woke up, got old lady bladder, so you got to go to the toilet. So if I woke up and I would lie back in bed, and even if I couldn't sleep, I would just meditate. And if I dozed off, that was great because I needed to sleep. And if I didn't, that was great. I was meditating. So then there's another 8 hours. I thought, what do I do with these other 8 hours? And that's, you take some eating away, a little bit of socializing, but I even cut down a lot on socializing. I'm very like Michael Langford, I'm a bit solitary, and I'm a bit, disciplined like that. Like if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And so, but then that's why it's so funny. It's because in the end, I thought I was doing this all. I did nothing. Not even the meditating. I was not. And you don't even, look, this is the thing that the seeker doesn't want to hear. But you think all the practices are doing it, but it's not, no. Because anyone can wake up at any time, because it's here now. It's your true nature now. You can never have meditated in your life and wake up. Tony Parsons walked in the park and walked out, didn't walk out again, So you don't have to, so the teachings are not even it, but the teachings and the meditating appeared in this life. It appeared. So even though never did it, never made a choice to do it, it just appeared. So I would be on the bed, curled up, fetal position, usually with a sheet over my head. And the thought that was so big that was trying to keep me away from meditating was, you're wasting your life. This is not living. How can you call this living? Life's happening out there. People are meeting up for coffee, going to movies, and you're just lying on a bed. So much so, my neighbor, she was like 5 years old at the time. I went over to play with her, and she said, "Oh, let's play opposites. You be me and I be you." And so what she did is she went on the couch and laid down, going to sleep. She just thought I slept all the time because she'd come over to want to play with me, but I'd be meditating. I just laughed. That's her playing me. Anyway,
But
so that was a massive thought. So that was before when I still thought I was seeking. But and India was the same. So people would say, "How was India?" And I'd go, oh, "Don't actually know. I can tell you, I sat in Ramana's ashram, and I preferred the smaller, older one
with the bed.
with the bed. Yeah.
Every time I went in there, because on the way up the mountain and on the way to get chai and on the way to pursue my spiritual pursuits, I would pop in there. And every single time I saw you sitting in there. And I didn't know how to meditate at the time. And matter of fact, I remember telling the kid's mom when I was justifying why I was leaving for a month, I said, I think I'm going to India to learn how to meditate. And she's like, she says, don't you have a meditation center in your backyard? Literally in my backyard. I said, yeah, but I don't know. Anyway, every time I'd go do the thing I was doing, I'd see Manuela in that hall. But I'll tell you something. I may have said this to you. Every time I saw you in that hall, you had this look on your face that I interpreted as there's no place else I'd rather be.
Definitely.
Because I remember marveling, thinking, what is going on in there? Like, what is she doing? Like, what? Because, it's silent, right? Except for the people coming in and out and people like me that don't know to bring the really soft, not crinkly bags, And you didn't, think, something banged or a peacock or a monkey, monkey bites people, right? No. But you just had this look on your face. I can still see it. Total absorption, contentment, and wonder. That's what I would say. So what kept me in the hall was looking at you, trying to imagine and just seeing what it is you were seeing. I couldn't hold my attention there that long, but that's what I saw every time. So let me let you speak to that.
That was funny because even you had to leave at lunchtime, the cleaner to come in. Well, the cleaner started talking to me because it came to mind. Well, just because I have to leave the ashram doesn't mean I have to stop meditating. So I just meditated outside, and we became friendly.
Yes.
It's only 2 weeks that we were there, but I found meditating there. So I'm talking back now, remembering as a seeker, because I wouldn't say any of this now because this is. I found the ashram, because there's so many people doing the same. They're there for the same reason, that you could meditate longer, deeper, and easier. That's what I found. Back home I had teenage sons who constantly want to be fed, and a husband who's not on the path at all, so he doesn't get it. So, if you're meditating, he'd just walk in and start, could you do this for me when you're at, here? Which is great because they're all distractions that you're learning to not distract you. Like even when you're saying all the crinkly bag and the ashram and the monkeys and all that, that was all background. So none of it disturbed me. So you're just learning to just stay in the heart no matter what. It was great training. So India was great. And India, there was a moment where I felt that the ground had disappeared and I would walk. And that sort of relates back to what I'm feeling now. It's like the middle falls away. So, who you think you are is a thought, So even if it gets down to you think you are awareness, you think you are your attention, it's the thought. They're two thoughts. And when that goes away, the story goes away. It's the middleman. You're living life without the middleman. The middleman's gone. I did three classes talking about Dr. David Hawkins' book. And the middle class, it didn't get recorded or, didn't get it put up because it was, I didn't know what happened. But I was talking and the middleman dropped out. So I was noticing that the mouth was talking, and something was recognizing it, and I couldn't talk. It was like, and then the mouth was just talking, spewing stuff out, and then I thought, well, okay, next time if that ever happens, I need to stop and tell, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. You know, but back then I didn't know that. So this stuff, and I bet you already know this stuff. It's already happening. How many times have you sat or walked in the park and you just feel one with all the trees? Like there's no you. There's just aliveness. There's just alive. And then thought will come in and you'll say, oh, this is so beautiful. You know, so the thought that, you know, it's got to claim it. It's got to claim it. Because without it, it doesn't exist. The claiming is what keeps the thought of the person alive. Even if you think you're just awareness, you know, that's, which brings me back to what we were doing in bed, like when he's sleeping and he snores, and you know, that snoring would really irritate me, you know, because it's full on like this. So, something happened. You know, again, it's nothing with you, but usually I just have to go over and touch him and he'll turn around and stop snoring. So, and it happens quickly, you know. But this one night, the hand went to only this much and it stopped. And I went, oh, this is an incredibly subtle way where you don't want things to be the way they are. You want it to be different. You want him to stop snoring. That's what you want. So I went, oh my God. See, that's how I kept me alive. That's a me that wants it to be different. That's the question again. This question, the first question, the curiosity, the first thought that came in that said, how would life be different? What would it be like if life was different? It comes up every second of the day and you don't realize it. So when you don't want to feel that feeling, you're doing it again. You're reaffirming it again. You're reaffirming it. So it's keeping the you alive. So constricted. So I did that and I went, okay, I'm going to do what Angelo is saying, because I already had these direct experiences. He was just able to put it into words for me. So I stopped and went, okay, hand, arm, that's a mental concept, drop it. Me, body, that's a mental concept, drop it. Snoring, that's a mental concept, drop it. My husband lying down 10 centimeters away from me, mental concept, drop it. What's here? I just looked into it, and it's a sensation. That's what it is. It's a sensation. That's all it is. The sound. So I go, okay, he's saying that there's not a me aware in my head of the sound. That's how we normally think. There's something aware. So I went, okay, drop that. So there's just the snoring, there's the sound. So you got to, I'm saying snoring now because I've got to use language, but I dropped that label. So it's a sound. Drop the sound, the label that this is not a nice sound. Drop it. So it's just, the awareness is in the sound. So it's like you're not centralized, you're decentralized. There's nothing, and then there's no millimeter gap between each decentralization. So there's only one. There's only one thing. And then there's only stillness, and there's movement appearing in stillness. And the movement is made from the stillness, even though the stillness doesn't know it. Stillness has never changed. So the stillness is always there. And then there's this movement. Now, what the mind says is or. It's this or this. But it's and. So empty fullness is one word. It's not two words. So the stillness and the movement appearing in the stillness is one. And this is the apparent. This movement. So all it is a thought. And a thought doesn't exist. So really, there is no world. There's no form, but there's appearance of form, but you see the stillness. You still, even though there's an appearance of something, feeling, sensation, or thought, the stillness is bigger. And this appearance it's just a movement. So the idea of me completely dissolved in the sound. And it was so I've never been that intimate with my husband before, because there was no bodies, and it was just this sound that is aware of itself, the sound sounding. And then this unbelievable, because he's still snoring and that level of stuff.
Yeah.
The sound disappears, because it's a movement within the nothing. That's everything. That's everything you see. But it's the filter of the mind, which we sort of put, everything goes through the mind and then projects out. And it's the filter that, because it's the pulsating, it's the movement. Well, the movement doesn't know this. So the movement is you, the thinking is the movement. So it's doing this. It's not seeing this. So you can never get to it with thought. So it's amazing. It's amazing. But then again, like everything drops, everything disappears. You can't hold on to anything now. So everything I'm saying is a story. It's a story that appeared. So this is the mystery. You can't explain anything like this. So when I went into intuition and asked, and this appearance happened, well, it was an accident, it was complete shock. And realizing that even all those times I meditated was nothing. It was, which is not what the seeker wants to hear. Well, and that's why I'm been the past month in shock. But awareness was still what we were talking about, the torch, and you go in and follow the light beam. Well, awareness is like still on the light beam. It's not, there's no destination. You can't say it, but that's what we would have thought before. There's no absolute. That's a thought too. That's a concept, because there's nothing else. You can't say, if everything is like the sound, you can't say the word everything, because you need something to compare it to. So if everything's so if everything's empty, you can't say those words. It's empty means it vanishes. Fullness vanishes. So what appears now is the what is, and you just enjoy the what is. It's really enjoy it. It doesn't matter what. Even if my husband gets mad at me again for something, and you feel sensation, and you feel you feel it, and it's not always nice, but it's a wow, because there's no story ever to attach on to. So there's no problem. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Everything's, no matter what. You could step in dog shit when you're going for a walk, and and you go, oh, but then there's no person, there's no nothing that it lands on. So it's all wonderful. It's all wow. That's the word I would use most. Wow. Oh, wow. Wow. Oh God. Changes everything, but nothing was there to change. It's all the same. I remember driving again to work. I don't know what it is with driving, because you're concentrating, you're dropping out. Your mind's focused on that, so there's more quietness. And I was at the stop sign, just my local stop sign, and there was a lot of cars, so there was like 5-minute wait. So I was always safe. But it was like or luminous, everything, luminous. And then you can't put words or talking until you come back, until you sort of drop back to a self, or instead of saying self, I say a self-reference point, because you could be anywhere on that. It could be I'm a full-on person, body, to I'm just awareness. So when you come back to a self, then the mind kicks into, and that's all the mind's doing. It's not a bad thing. It's trying to understand what's happening and it's a filter. So it can't cope with everything. So it takes a bit and it filters it and says, oh, that's what's happened. Oh, okay. And you believe it, but it's cut out it's cut out all the aliveness, because again, it's just this movement. So, I came back and I laughed and laughed and laughed. This laughter I just never had laughed in my life. It was like a relief and a release at the same time, because it was always here. So the words say this because, inner guidance talks in your own language because it's for you. My inner guidance is not for you. It's for me. So it uses my words so I can understand it, like what I thought it was. And it said, but I already do this. Although there's no I and there's no already do this. It's just saying that this aliveness is always here. I recognize it. It's always been here in my whole life. I've always recognized it. And another one that I recognize that the mind completely misinterpreted, which I find is very funny. There's moments where I would drive and it was a beautiful grey. I love grey days, because where I'm at, it's always hot and sunny and blue. So the grey, misty days are gorgeous to me. And it would be a little bit of mist, rain, and I'd drive home and I'd stop at my local park, which is just a few houses down. And it's everything clicked. But I'd know I'd have to get some McDonald's. I'd sit in the car. The classical music would play. The visual was beautiful. It was grey and drizzly, and the green, when it's grey, the green of the trees pop even more. And then the sensation of the McDonald's with the classical music. I was in heaven. And then it's like now I realize it's because the you disappears and it's just all sensations. And you're not the sensations. You're the music, the clouds, the drizzle, the McDonald's, the taste. So that was so funny because I went, oh my God, it's one of those moments. This is amazing. I've got to go to McDonald's. To do with McDonald's. But that's what it does. So it equated McDonald's with this disappearing of me feeling great. Oh my God. So in those moments, you just disappear. And so you have these all throughout your life. It's just, you just don't know. The mind overlooks it. So you've had, of course, like in a Ramana, there's the resistor, the doubter, and the abiding. And yeah, sure, you can read them as stages. You start off as the resistor and then you move to the doubter. But really, from my point of view, you're always abiding. Always abiding. When you believe your thoughts, you go straight to resistor. And you're either gonna, I want this or I don't want this. I'm gonna repress this or I'm gonna feel this. Then from awakening together, we learn about the doubter. So we go, oh, I can apply rat. And so you move, but you're always abiding, but there's no one who's abiding and there's no abiding. It is. So that's why I had to pull out of my latest facilitating, because I can't facilitate, because I'm just being, it's deepening. So it's only fresh. Like at the month, for the first month I couldn't talk. The second month it's sort of settling, but it's seeing that, oh my God, it doesn't stick. Like you don't notice at first because it's just something's just so it's sitting at, for me, it's just sitting in it. That it's like acclimating. So I got to do that. But when I facilitated, I also had to add in my clarity as well. Because then I'd be lying. So Inner Ramana talks a lot about it, but sometimes, on one page, it's when a man welcomes the light fully, he ceases to be a man and he becomes the light. Okay, well, there's no man and there's no light, but you get what it's saying. For the light is a presence that denies the existence of man. That's, man is just thought, and thought does not exist in the light. It knows only the light. When a man becomes the light, he is the light, and he sings to all men of the light, as he knows there is only light. So I have to say that here there's still two, there's still duality. So drop this, and then you see the oneness, but oneness is the concept as well. You just see the isness, the what is. Then it says, where did I put it here? This is what is meant by to be born again. The existence you seem to have before is gone, as if it never was. And the new existence, well, I had to cross those two words out. So there is no new existence. It's just existence. It's just aliveness. Is all there is and all there ever could be. This is it. It is seen in all places, in all directions, and in all men. Now, what's seen but a mental concept? What's places but a mental concept? What's all directions but a mental concept? What's all men but mental concept? See, you're dropping all that. What is there when you've dropped all that? Because it is truly all that can be seen. I mean, like it's all here. But I just would have to take out the seeker bit, because it's talking to you as a seeker, and then I have to say, but that's still duality. So drop, look into, I think the last thing, and I think this is what will come out of Regina's, the Tao Te Ching, is really looking at what is awareness and what is attention. Because, now I can read the Tao Te Ching and it's just so clear. It's because it's where are you looking from in each line? The hidden in the hidden is coming from the seeker, how the seeker sees. But then that's still it, because that's the what is. So the what is still it, because there's nothing else. There's no two. But it's never changed the what is. And it doesn't exist. It's apparent. It's apparent. Like this body is apparent. And it's no different to this, except you don't feed a pen, but you feed a body. But that's just, it has no more importance. Because you think you're here, you think it's important. And more important than something else or another person. But it's not here. Awareness is not here.
And we'll say for the recording, you're putting your hands up on your head, and what you're saying is mind. The thinking mind is not it.
Yeah. And awareness.
Right.
Because you take so much away that you know you're not the thinking mind, you're not the body, you're not your thoughts, but you think you're awareness. But you don't realize, because it's incredibly subtle, that awareness is still a thought. It's still a self-referencing point.
Right.
And it could be minutely, just a tiny, tiny microscopic dot, but it's still a point, and it's still duality. it's very hard to talk about, because all language is to talk about duality.
Because to say one thing
so-
is to have it be
Yeah.
inferred that you're excluding the other. And that's
Yeah.
why we
So-
just keep pointing.
That's why when you the minute you open your mouth, you've already moved away from the absolute, well, just call it radiant emptiness. You know, you've already, because the word is already, you can't describe it, you can't, but you know it because it's you. But there's no you and there's no knowing. And this is where I get Tony Parsons, because that's what he's trying to say. He's trying to wipe away everything that is a concept, which is not true. All the apparent is what, you know, which is not what the seeker wants, because the seeker, and I know this because it's frustrating, because you don't understand, but you will never understand. So don't worry about that. You will never understand. It's not understandable. You will never. It's just what happens. And then there's no reason why that recognition happened. It just happened. It was, I call it an accident, because it was totally. And then why did that happen to me? Well, to this apparent me, I don't know. There's nothing. It's just the what. It's the what is. That's it. The what is. And then it's nothing special. It's everything already that you already know, but you don't know, because the mind can't see it. But you're already it. Like, and that's why it's so funny, and it's why it's so obvious. But just what are you without all thoughts? I mean, just that sentence makes you feel, you know, because all thoughts is your story. What are you without all your story? You know, you can feel a peace in there.
Yeah. What's still there? Right. What hasn't moved? Yeah.
What hasn't moved?
Yeah. This radiant stillness, this radiant emptiness. Yeah.
Right. Unboundless, unconditional. It allows everything. Like it doesn't even see it. It's never moved. It's never changed. It's radiant. It's luminous is the word, and aliveness is the closest word I can say. Aliveness. Oh, this peace, because it doesn't. Nothing hits you. Nothing sticks to it.
Because there's no
And
it.
nothing exists. Nothing exists.
Yeah.
So this apparent body just enjoys everything, because it can. Like it's already saying too much. I'm saying way too much.
Well, we will all say back to you and use the one word that you've used the most, which is wow.
Wow.
And, yeah.
Big wow. And it's hard to believe we've already hit the 90-minute mark. Unbelievable.
Oh my God. That is unbelievable. I thought this would last half an hour.
Unbelievable. And what I just want to say on behalf of everyone who's going to have the opportunity to listen to this, everyone who's listening to this now, Manuela, thank you. And should you ever feel called, we would love to have another chat with you. Love to have another chat.
Maybe in a year to see what's happened. If nothing's happened, because nothing's going to happen. But
we would love to hear about your nothing happening.
Love to hear about nothing.
You could be our own version of Seinfeld right here, okay?
Right.
I love that show.
That's right. So I just, on behalf of everyone, thank you so much, Manuela, for making the time to do this, and for being with us, and for pointing to what can't be pointed to, apparently.
But it's here, and it's always, it's obvious. It's so obvious.
Wonderful.
Thank you for watching our satsang. We hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to join us live, please remember you can do so by visiting our website, awakening-together.org. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary. Again, our website is awakening-together.org. Remember to click the bell for more notifications and subscribe.